Okay, hey, you guys are here. This is the disclaimers by Davidlee Buess and Edward Johnston. Today is the 3rd of July, 2017, and Ed, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you. I would like to thank everybody for joining me and Dave and all of us tonight. We are thankful to have you listening and educating ourselves, because the whole thing about this is proper education compared to what people want to believe. And I'll get into that here in a few minutes, because I've gone through this through the internet with many people here in the last week. And it is amazing to me that people quote stuff, but they never read real history. This is the major frustration we have in life today. People don't read real history. Right now it's going around the internet that I've been posting, and I got it from overseas, dealing with a minister that has been raping children. And everybody's going, oh, well, that's okay, basically, because he's not a Christian. Well, folks, learn real history. Roman Catholic Church was founded by Christianity. Read real history. It would be nice if you people would learn real history, read real history. I went on that with another gentleman today on his little talk show that he was doing, his little live spring that he was doing for the general public. And he's like, well, we should take up arms because everything is going to dealing with the Bundys. And it's like, the one thing with the Bundys, they refused to file charges on the assaulters. They refused to learn how to read the structure of doing it. And, and they want to go to their attorneys. So when you go through your attorney, remember, attorney only represents a non-living man or woman. He cannot represent a live being unless he is contracted. And this is the point that people have to comprehend the reality of these points. Really, reality. And people don't get it. That's the whole point. People do not get the structure of life, of what's going on in life. They want to sit there and go through the frustrations. And I'm going to get back over here because I'm going to read what I posted up here. Dealing with this, the structure. Pity as a child rape priest. Okay, raped over 30 children, gave them all herpes. Not herpes, but AIDS. The church says, oh, it's okay that you rape children. Remember, your church, your Christianity Bible says, and read the Bible, it even says in the Bible, if you really read the Bible, that raping children is acceptable, and it is in the Bible. Plain and simple. But no, people don't want to read the truth in it. And if you read the Bible, it even says that God, as they claim it, is Satan. And the other point is everybody goes, Jesus. Well, in Hebrew language, there's no J. You can come up with all the stuff that you want in your arguments, but I put this stuff out. Nobody can dispute me because I quote facts, as Dave and I do. They wrote it, we quote it. And we even put up the structure, even going all the way back to Christianity and history, when if you were not a Christian, you were demembered. You were burned at the stake. You were butchered because you would not comply with Christianity. And that's what Christianity is really about. If you don't comply and do what we tell you, you're going to pay the ultimate price for your body. And it is interesting that people do not listen. They don't want to pay attention to the real truth. And they want to sit there and, live in fantasy land like Disneyland. And this is the point. There is no Disneyland here, folks. This is real world. This is the fact that you have to realize this is the real world. And remember, the Bible and all this stuff, I've been arguing with even Ann, whatever name she wants to go by this week. Telling people that, they need money, to battle this stuff. You can read her posts around. Well, how come if she's an acting judge, she claims, Trust me, when I called the bar, they never heard of her in Alaska. And when I called the courts in Alaska, they didn't hear of her. And she goes by minimum four different names. Well, and if that's true, she's even admitted it in the letters that she's put out on the internet. That's fraud upon the court, folks. Straight up fraud upon the court. So it is learning what real history is compared to what we're getting led around the ring on. You know, and this is the one thing that is so disturbing because people follow these people. They go write their affidavits, what these people do. Then they end up in jail, and then they wonder why. Well, that's like the deal. Sovereign citizens. You know, either you're sovereign or a citizen. A citizen is a British subject. 100% a British subject. I am no citizen. I am a lawful bloodline American. I am a lawful bloodline. I don't claim anything else but that. Okay? And the other point is you're legal immigrants, which I don't have problems with legal immigrants. And I'm writing an affidavit dealing with the recall, and I'm doing that with the charges I'm doing on the acting governor of the state of Oregon right now. I'm getting ready to get all this stuff out. I've been putting this stuff together, and I got to make sure it's done really patent because when I file it with the House and Senate, you know, this is something that's going to rock the entire state. Okay, and this is the one thing that people have got to realize that if you do not stand up, and it's like Ron was going off with his deal, you know, oh, let's grab guns and do all this. I don't have a problem with doing that, okay? And, you know, he's going off about paying taxes. Well, I've never paid income tax, and he starts going on about, oh, well, yeah, you do, and you pay taxes when you drive and all this stuff. Well, those taxes and the road taxes are set up to being paid for the roads, nothing else. That is the point that people got to learn what taxation is, the legal taxation and lawful taxation. Legal is British government. Lawful is put in place so we do have roads. They're not allowed to charge you property taxes or city fees like they do in my town as a tax to use the road, which I am getting ready to do that too, but you know, this is the point that they do this stuff and people go along with it because they have no lack of knowledge of the truth. They want to go by what they think or what they hear, you know. And then when I hear this stuff, you know, with these people that are going after the structure, dealing with, you know, like, you know, asking for money, you know, and they're out there claiming to do stuff when they're not doing anything but putting people in jeopardy. Now, I'm going to be putting a direct template out here after Dave proofs it, and we'll get that out. And this covers elected and public servants. This covers legal citizens only and lawful bloodline Americans. So this way you have a deal, an affidavit template that when you do your instruments, you have to prove one way or the other who you are. And I don't sit there and say under God and all that stuff because, you know, all I know is the Great Spirit and Mother Earth. I don't know a God. Because if you really do the research in God, and it even says in the Bible, King James Bible, God is Satan. Clearly states that. Even Pope Francis came out. Pope Benedict was the first one who, after he was appointed, came out and started saying that. But nobody listens to the truth of what's going on in the general public. This is the frustration. You know, people don't do research. They listen to a bite on TV. Oh, that's got to be real. No, when I was like, right now, Comey is being charged for not registering with the Foreign Registration Administration Act, 1938. And everybody's going, oh, is that fake news? No, I actually did some research. It's real. Okay, people are getting it that if you are elected and public servants, you have to register. You have to do this stuff because this was put in place to protect our country. If you are an immigrant, you have privileges. You have no birthrights. You have no rights. Okay, that's why we could ship you out of our country immediately. And that's what I support, too. Because if I go to a foreign country and if I don't comply with what they say, I'm shipped out of the country immediately or jailed. And, all these people are going, oh, they're shipping my children out. Oh, they're shipping these people out. And like the governor of the state of Oregon and the House and Senate passing bills to protect terrorism of immigration. Then they're giving them free housing at our expense. Then they're giving them, school and education, mind control. Of course, the schools here are really screwed up anyways. So it's mind control. There's no reality to education anymore because there's no protection to the people. And that's the one thing that people have to comprehend. There is no education. It's mind control in the schools today. That's why I suggest that you don't put your kids in the public schools. Take them out. Then you won't have the problems that you have in today. And the only ones you can blame on the problems that people are having today is yourself. That is the problem, is that you have to blame yourself. You can't sit there and blame others for what's going on. I know it's a tough, hard lesson to learn. And that is one point that we all have been learning on this structure, on this walk of life that me and Dave have been going. Because like we say, they wrote it, we quote it. They did this under the circumstances of fraud. Now we have to charge them under the circumstances of fraud. It's that simple. It is this simple. There is no going back to the fantasies that people are living in of Disneyland. And realize that Disneyland was created to keep you confused, just like TV was. TV was done with mind control for the last 60 years, minimum. Okay, remember cigarette ads and all this stuff, and then they pull off cigarette ads, and everybody goes, oh, that harmed me. It didn't harm you. They did when they put the chemicals in it, because real tobacco doesn't harm anybody. Real tobacco. But otherwise, when they got all these other chemicals in it, it does harm you. They are liable. Remember, your elected and public servants are liable. They took an oath. So their assets, their home, their jewelry is liable. We do recommend that everybody file on your elected and public servants for their oath of office, their bonds. Because it's up to you to prove it. If you don't prove it, that is the point. If you don't prove it, there is no evidence. There's no fact. And that is your liability issue. That's where you have to come across and have a comprehension to what the facts are compared to what we're led to believe of the bullshit. And it is bullshit. Most of the stuff is total bullshit that we see, that we get involved in, that people put in front of us. I listen to these talk shows where people claim they know what they're talking about, and then in reality, they have no concept of what they're talking about. They have a concept, but they're quoting what somebody else says, but they don't do the research. Literally, they don't do the research. They don't know what they're actually talking about. And this is the other thing that is so disturbing. And I mean disturbing. As a matter of fact, I got to send this one over to my host, because I need to put this up. We need to get this up, because I want people to comprehend one major point about elected and public servants and how they are paid. This is the one thing that people do not comprehend, how the system works. And if you are a member of elected and public servants, you are liable. That is the point that you have to comprehend. Your assets, your home. You go out and slander somebody, you are liable. It's that simple. And people do not comprehend the facts of reality. They want to go off on things, and when you file something, make sure that you're filing and know if you're filing it lawful or legal. You have to know the terminology. That's your responsibility to know the structure, of your liability. It's nobody else's responsibility. And remember, if you misquote something, come back and apologize and get it over with. We all do stupid mistakes. Nobody's perfect. You know, I've done a few in my time. You know, and that's the point. We all have done a few in our time. So we cannot be afraid of what the circumstances are in life. You know. And Dave, I did email that to you so you can take a look at it. But this is the bottom line, is that I watch people do a lot of stuff that on the internet. I've had people trying to slam me, going, you don't know what you're talking about, Jesus, and all this stuff. And folks, you don't know what you're talking about. Jesus and the Bible invaded this country. They raped, robbed, and pillaged. When they gave the Indians and native people, it wasn't just Indians they gave the blankets to, it was others too. That's not in the history books. Because they gave it to anybody that was on this soil ahead of time, because they were trying to claim the soil for the the bastard in England called the king. Like attorneys, all attorneys are registered to the King and Queen of England. They work to the British government. They do not work for you. When you hire an attorney, you are claiming that you are stupid, dumb, and incompetent. 100% you are incompetent. So, you know, this is the thing, is knowing what's going on. You know, and when you make mistakes, don't bitch yourself out so hard. Sometimes you got to learn how to laugh at things and go, oh shit, you know, we got to deal with it. You know, I mean, I have to too. I mean, it's like I got things that I got pending right now with bills that they're trying to pass. I got senators telling me, hey, give me your opinion on this. You know, and I do. You know, like I said, I get anywhere from 5 to 1,000 emails a day. You know, dealing with circumstances around this country. You know, so I don't have a life when it comes down to it. I don't have birthday parties. I don't go out and socialize. Because I do this. This is what the Great Spirit's got me doing. You know, I don't believe in the other structure that some people do. You know, because I'm not going to waste my life going to a church where churches ain't working for the people. Where churches are working for the corporation. Because churches are the corporation. And to get a comprehension of that really well, there's a movie called Interstate 60, and I recommend everybody watch it a minimum of twice. And you'll have your eyes open a lot more than what you think it is. You know? And this is the point, too. He had it up earlier. You know, every person is born naturalized in the United States, subject to jurisdiction, is a citizen. A citizen is a British subject. Citizen is not used in the terminology that people think it was done in like the 1700s. Citizen was changed in the 1800s with democracy of the British government. That's why Lincoln was assassinated, because he was an attorney and he wouldn't turn this country over to the King of England. Read real history. Read his memoirs. You know, he wouldn't give the rights over of this country to them. And this is the point, that people do not sit there and comprehend what's developed in this country. They don't comprehend what has been doing in this country. That's like the churches allowing men and women to be raped, literally. You know, and then they're saying, "Oh, we were supposed to forgive." Well, you know, that's the one thing, is forgiving is like the Bible says, God may forgive, but it doesn't say I have to turn the other cheek. And if you read the Bible when it says turn the other cheek, that actually means you were slapped or hit in the face. So people interpret the Bible. It's like the system is open for interpretation, people think. You know, a lawyer say, oh, that's an interpretation, this is what it means. You put a bill or you put a structure of administration rule in front of an attorney, 15 attorneys, and you have 15 different opinions. You know, because everybody's trying to make a buck. You know, everybody's trying to rip everybody off. And I do recommend you guys look at the church history and learn and read how Christianity has, going back to the 13th century, and the structure that endorsed raping children. Modern Christians, like the descendant of children, as the little lamb. That's what it means, raping the lamb. Remember, there's jokes about states where they say men and sheep are scared. People got to learn what it is. You got to open your minds to the truth here, folks. Now I got the filings going, getting ready to go out on the governor of Oregon. They will be going out this week. I got to finish a couple of the other ones up. I got one that we have to put the jurat in. And then once I do that, I can sit there and file it with the House and Senate and the news media. Because once I do that, I can finish the other ones and start the trail on it. But all these are going to be set up with a jurat to be notarized. So when you notarize this structure as a lawful American, elected and public servant, and it has a structure in it, as well as legal citizen, I have all three structures in it, so that way it cannot be confusing. That way you're claiming your status, too. Oh, what a concept. Now you claim your status, so now you're protected. If you want to protect yourself, this is one way, because it says it right in the affidavit of the charges that I'm filing on Kate Brown. And that's what I'm saying, is like Kate Brown, she's from Spain, she's not an American. Oregon State Constitution clearly states that you have to be born in the 48 states. 1846 was the Constitution remnants that they started, and that was a treaty with England. And in that treaty it says that Oregonians in Oregonian territory can own land outright. No taxes. It's in the damn treaty. And then 1859, it became a state corporation that under federal law has to go by the Constitution first, administration second. So the 1933 Bankruptcy Act, when they put that in and took away the gold and silver from we the people, that means when they put the de facto in, that means elected and public servants, registered church members, and all immigration have to pay the taxes, not we the people. That's under House Resolution 192 if you actually do the research and read the real history. But people don't read real history. They want to interpret it, or sometimes their mind interprets it because of the way they've been convinced. And believe me, there's a lot of brain structure. There's a lot of vertigo out there with stuff on TV and radio, noise frequencies that they do to the mind to mess with us. And you have to pay attention to that. And that's where I have been preaching since I was a very young man. Mind over matters. If it minds, it matters. If it don't mind, it don't matter. So you have to determine what matters to you and your structure of your life. You have to matter what the facts in your children of your way you're educating them. When you let your kids play TV games or video games, you have to realize how much the mind control those games really are. People think that all these things are so harmless. They are not harmless, folks. They really are not harmless. I mean, I've watched TV, I've played some of the video games that some of them I could see what's going on in the game itself, it's very scary when you start reading this, and I'm going to be clear with you, too, and before I turn the floor over to Dave, and then we'll open up the floor, because I understand Toth would like to bring in a couple things, what he's been working on. We'll give him a couple minutes for that. But there are two constitutions in the United States of the 48 states. Two constitutions. The first one is the Constitution ratified 1778, which I have on public record in the newspapers in 1993, stamped by the Queen of England, that I publicized in the media, and Dave knows that. He has copies. We publicized it. It was out there. People know the truth. No elected public servants, no government agency, and including the House and Senate members where I publicized it in, didn't have an argument with it at all. Didn't have an argument with it at all. And this is the point that you've got to start realizing what's going on. And I did send in, too, that I'll send this one in overthrowing the government so that way they can do it. But I did send in over there, too, so people can see what, the public employees get paid. So by being paid, they have to pay taxes and all that structure. It's in what I just sent over on an FB site. I don't know if I emailed it. I'll do that right now, too. But I'm doing two separate ones over. So this way we can get these up. So this way you can see what's going on. Read the stuff. They wrote it. Dave and I quote it. They don't like what we're doing. They don't like this coming out because we are not a democracy. Do the real history of democracy. Democracy is the structure of the British government, the Roman Catholic Church, the devil himself. You know, people go, oh, Ed, you can't sit there and quote that. They're doing this and they're doing that. I'm quoting what's written. I'm quoting the facts. I'm not quoting anything out of text. You know, people go, oh, quit slamming Christians, Ed. I'm not slamming them. I'm just telling the truth. What? You're afraid of the truth? That is the point. People are afraid of the truth. You know, I still can't believe how they get away with, you know, these church members and these Vatican people raping children. And people stand by and allow it. And I'm going to be blunt here. How many people that you know who are raped? How many people that women and men and women were raped and you kept your mouth shut? You know it or you've seen it and you kept your mouth shut. That's called guilty as charged. You know? And believe me, the structure is coming down the pike where, I don't know, God, as you call it, I call it the Great Spirit and Mother Earth, because without the Great Spirit and Mother, there is no children, there is no food. You know, I just watch God destroy things. You know, that's all I watch. Destruction, you know, Bible, and everybody at the churches, they don't grow food, they don't take care of their people in the structure of the church. They don't. You know, I haven't seen a church grow food, canned food. Everybody thinks that they have a right to, what is that? A free living. You know, if the churches and the children, like, you know, once upon a time, the schools used to grow food in the schools. The churches used to can food in the schools before the Civil War. This is all done before the Civil War, folks. They did it. It's true. You know, and so when they did this stuff, there was no hunger. There was no starvation. And if you go back in what they call their history books, and if you really do history book teaching and lessons, real history, New York, and they're out there in the food lines and all that. Remember, they created the structure called money. And so prior to that, most people were out hunting and fishing. They didn't live in the big cities dependent on somebody else to feed them. And that's the point you've got to realize. They didn't live this way. And anyhow, the other point I got to get, before I turn it over to Dave, I want to make sure that now next Monday we're going to be starting a new call-in number. We're working on having this set up with 4 other stations. I am working on a structure right now to tie this up with the Bible Belt structure in the Midwest. So we're going to start expanding here pretty soon. But the new number starting July 10th, 614-715-0864.
641. You said 614, Ed.
Oh, 0864, right?
Is 641-715-0864. You put the 4 and 1 and the 641 reversed.
Oh, okay.
I don't want them calling
I
somebody
don't know how I did that because I'm reading this. So anyhow, 641, I was on my computer, we're playing games. 641-715-0864. Code 486971. And I am working on to set up an 800 number here. And hopefully next week or the week after, we'll be announcing that we have an 800 number. We could get that publicized out there. And then once we get the other things working, and I'm working on a couple of FM and a couple AM radio stations. Once we get that, we'll get them out. And so we'll start publicizing that information out too. Because we want to get this expanded out, because if we don't sit there and start teaching real truth, compared to people, there's a lot of people out there quoting stuff, And when you really look at it, you're realizing that a lot of these people are quoting stuff. They're quoting what they hear, and they don't do the real history. They don't have the knowledge base of what they're actually talking. Then you don't know how to respond when you respond to them, because they don't know how to respond back to you with the truth. You know, and I've had that happen here recently with a few guys that were trying to, what the heck, I hate it when my computer does things on its own. I mean, I watch people do this stuff. Oh, damn it, I just lost all my work. I hate it, man. I hate those damn, people. That's the one thing. Never trust anybody to go in your computer. Ever. Anybody. I don't give a damn if it's your mother, brother, or sister. They'll screw you for their own personal gain. So, but anyhow, I got the new talk show number out. We're working on the 800 number. We are looking for people that are willing to help out on that. When I do have it set up, we'll give out the code to the 800 number. So if you are willing to donate to the 800 number, you can call the 800 number company up and personally donate to the 800 number. Because we don't want your money. I don't want your money. I mean, right now I'm fighting with the city and state because they're trying to foreclose on me. Like I told them, hey, might have to go through a shootout. And they're going, what, you're going to blow us up and stuff? So I'm not telling you that. I'm not going to do stupid things like that to the building of our public buildings. You're coming on my land threatening my life. I have a right to defend it from terrorists. And your elected and public servants are terrorists. Foreign Agents Registry Act of 1938. That was put in place at World War II. So we know who's in our country. So we know what public servants are out there. And then you go to the 1933 Bankruptcy Act. Of course, that was a fraud, too. We do have the information to prove that was a fraud done by the Democrats and the bankers for personal and financial gain. You know, remember, anybody says they're a Democrat, they work for the British government. They don't want constitutional rights, and they're saying, oh, we have rights. No, you don't. Under democracy, you don't have rights. In a republic, you do have rights. You have honorable rights. So anyhow, I sent that over to Dave. We'll get into that one after a bit. Dave, I would love to turn the floor over to you, and the floor is yours because you had a couple of things you really wanted to hit tonight, too. Is Dave there?
I nailed the Ohio...
Speak a little closer to the phone.
Okay, I nailed the Ohio Division of Natural Resource, Division of Wildlife, on their license to fish, a.k.a. a fishing license. And so I picked up this pamphlet from the store where I went to get the license, and I found that they were requiring of me my Social Security number. And I said, I'm sorry, but I can't provide that. It's against the law to provide that. And they go, what? This is the clerk. And I said, well, I cannot, by law, give out my Social Security number, and if you insist upon me giving you that number, I can have you arrested and you can spend 5 years in jail. What? Well, so I went out to the car and I got a copy of 18 U.S.C. Title 42 at 408A8. And I walked back into the store and I gave it to him. And she said, oh, my God. So I was looking through the brochure after I got home because I wanted to address the state of Ohio that they're committing an illegal act. So as I was reading this instrument that they put out, and here's what it says. The ODNR, Division of Wildlife, is funded by annual hunting, trapping, and fishing license sales It is the authority on Ohio fish and wildlife resources and uses no state or federal taxpayer dollars to fulfill its mission. Additional funds come from the federal aid reimbursement from an excise tax on hunting and fishing. Money generated allows the ODNR, Division of Wildlife, to promote conservative efforts of game and non-game animals. Examples of these effect included endangered and threatened species, restoration, fish, hatcheries, hunter and angler, education, and law enforcement. The ODNR, Division of Wildlife mission, is to conserve and improve fish and wildlife resources and their habitat for substantial use in appropriation of all. So they state in this brochure that they are an organization. They're not a government agency. They are an organization. Then they have private funding, thanks to all of you who buy fishing licenses and hunting licenses and all that other stuff. So they have no authority to obviously arrest you as an organization. They're not law enforcement. How can they be law enforcement if they're an organization? So I ask them, are you a corporation? Do you have a charter, bond, business license? Do you file your corporate taxes? A few questions like that. Well, on page 5 of this document, it says Social Security number requirement. Any customer who applies for a license is required to provide their Social Security number, SSN. Federal Statute 42 requires the SSN of any individual to whom the state issues a recreational hunting or fishing license. Really? How can they require it when they say you're not allowed to give it out? That's fraud and inducement, people. Applications must also declare their residency and provide their full name, date of birth. There again, we're into British law, date of birth. What's wrong with your born date? Were you born or birth? Are you a ship at sea, birth to a dock or something, or what? Gender, address, height, weight, hair color, eye color, etc. Once provided and recorded in the licensing system, applicant will only be required to update the information on the file as it changes. So I wrote him a letter and I said, well, you're telling me that it is required, but you're not giving any law, statute, codification that gives you the authority to get it, whereas I have Title 42, 4088 at 8A. A8, excuse me. So I said I refused to get the license because you are committing fraud against me and extortion. Why do you need my license? Why do you need my Social Security number as an organization? Therefore, I will file criminal charges against you with the Department of Justice, Social Security, etc. Which I did. I sent all this information to the State Highway Patrol. I sent it to Social Security, and I sent it to the Department of Justice. So I'm waiting to see what is actually going to happen. So I may have just shut down an organization in the state of Ohio. So it pays you to read the pamphlet entirely, people. They're giving you all the information you need to know relating to their organization. They're not law enforcement, they're an organization. So I hope you're comprehending this. If you have ever been arrested for poaching by a fish and game person, that's false arrest. So I do believe you could probably go back and sue them. Or were you arrested by the sheriff who the Fish and Game reported you to? In other words, they're the state of Ohio snitches, the private contractor to investigate poaching or whatever, when in reality they have no authority. So, not that I'm trying to pick a fight with the state of Ohio or the Division of Wildlife or anybody else. I want to know the truth. What is your authority to put this crap out on the counter and say you got to pay it in order to fish in this state? Did the state create the waters, the streams, and all that stuff? No. Did they create the fish? Because I've already asked them this question in a letter. I wrote a letter to the governor. I said, here, give me the formula on how to create this stuff, and then I won't have to go fishing. I just sat here and created all day long. I never got a response. I said, you tell me you own the land, well, show me the allodial title to it. I wanted handwriting of God where he said the state of Ohio is now hereby granted this many square miles of territory so you can sell it. Didn't get a response. Faxed it to my three stooges in Washington. They didn't respond either. So something majorly wrong. Why is it that we're turning all the enforcement over to the IRS on shit? IRS are unregistered foreign agents. They qualify under that little act that Ed just quoted you. If they're unregistered foreign agents, they have no authority. I asked them for a bond business license to do business in the state of Ohio. They failed to produce it. They do not like what we're doing. They do not like the way we're investigating. They don't like the way we're backing it up by their law, their regulations, their writings. They wrote it, we quote it. So, I guess as a sovereign, notice you are not a sovereign citizen. You go into that racket and you're going to get yourself hung. For a bloodline American, if you meet the qualifications under Article 2.5, and you're a sovereign. The Supreme Court ruled that men and women are sovereign, governments are not. Well, most governments throughout the world are corporations. Dead entities, they exist in name only. And that is why lawyers and attorneys can only represent the corporation. Unless it's under contract, like Ed said. And then, that if you hire one of these dirt bags, you're going to get sued. Or go to jail. Because they definitely are not going to represent you. Read the oath of a lawyer. I think we had that. I don't know. We still got that posted on the website, Ed.
I didn't hear you. Say that again. You're speaking a little low.
Oh, the oath of an attorney, lawyer. I said, do we have that still on the website?
I'm not sure. I think we do, but if not, we'll have it up here within the week.
Okay, because people...
And remember, the one thing is, all attorneys and judges are British accreditation, or auxiliary accreditation to the King and Queen of England. Attorneys do not work, or lawyers do not work in this country. They work for the Queen of England.
judges, lawyers, and attorneys. Any member of the Bar Association work for the Crown. Look up Inn of Court, Black's Law Dictionary, page 805, under Inn, I-N-N, of Court, C-O-U-R-T. You will find where they're tied to the City of London and the College of Lincoln's Inn, etc., etc. So if you want to know, if you've ever lost a court case and you thought you were swindled, you can now sue your attorney for conflict of interest.
Always ask for a conflict of interest statement.
When I asked for a conflict of interest statement from an attorney, I received a "I cannot work for you," and he quit.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knew, I knew. He refused to give it. I cannot work, I cannot take your case. When I go after the IRS, I ask the attorney, here, provide me a conflict of interest statement. I ask the judge, when I file a case in court, I need a conflict of interest statement. Oh, they throw the case out of court. Why would that be? Where does the attorney, where does the judge state, I, under penalty of perjury, before this court, do hereby declare that all things that I say in this court are constitutional. That this is a constitutional court for the bloodline American and who is entitled a grand jury investigation into any and all charges against him. When we start waking up to the fraud scheme of the U.S. courts, the judges, lawyers, attorneys, crooks of court, I love that word, crook of court, because it applies to the clerk of the court, who alter your paperwork, lie, cheat, and steal to protect the corporation. So Americans start comprehending and comprehending the fact that when you file a case in a U.S. court, it may not be a court of record, and as such, you're wasting your time. I've got a judge in Pennsylvania that I'm going to serve a notice of deficiency on him because we wrote a paper for a lady in PA, and it's been 3 months, and this judge hasn't answered one stinking thing of it. So it's time when you put a court case into court, and if they alter that document in any way, that's fraud upon the court. You send them a notice of error. You can send them a notice of error coram nobis, whatever you want to do. But you put it in the form of an affidavit. You do not sign it under penalty of perjury because you've never taken a sworn, I do solemnly swear. Okay? That's the biggest fraud scheme going. Oh, I solemnly swear under penalty of perjury. No, I'm sorry. Perjury is only if you've taken the oath. So you sign it with your blood stamp. Put your thumb on red ink and put it on the paper, because red ink indicates blood. You do not ever sign under penalty of perjury unless you've actually been in court and have taken the oath. And then it only can relate to testimony given in court. Other than that, it's not under penalty of perjury. Do we have any questions? You want to do Q&A?
Why don't we open the floor up for a minute? Then after we do that, then we'll let Toast bring his point of view in, and then we'll get further on because I got a few more things.
Okay.
So anybody else would like to bring something to the table, their case or something, please do that.
Ed, are we just doing basic, or are we doing Q&A?
Basic. Anybody's got anything they would like to ask or bring to the floor or their case or something, we'll just do that first.
May I?
Yes. Go ahead, may I?
Okay, hold on one second. I gotta get my speaker on here. Thanks for the call, gentlemen. Appreciate everything you're saying, and listening with a tuned ear. I have filed, I'm in Hawaii here, I filed with the Bureau of Conveyance, my citizenship, and I'm trying to work things out with my ex-wife in terms of having some reasonable visitation and custody rights. And she's kind of turned it on me. I took some advice from some other folks. I sent her a bill for this restraining order that she had placed against me and my children. And so I shouldn't say children, I should say property, because we know where the children word leads to. But I'm aware of a few of these things. So then I started an affidavit process, like a 5-step process, and I sent her this notice of billing, a notice to request visitation and custody, and then I sent a notice of trust, and that was the one advice that I was given, and I put that in the court case. I voided the judgment of the original case by entering a void judgment into the case. And now, since I've sent her this billing, I was working some minor visitations out, but now she's pretty much cut me off completely, of course, and I'm not sure what I was expecting otherwise. But the point is and now she's bringing up another child custody hearing where she's wanting to grant 0 visitation, and she already has full legal custody. You know, I kind of laid down in court thinking that she would have some mercy on me, and she just, yeah.
Never trust a woman. Never, ever trust a woman. They'll backstab you every time.
Oh, I think it's human nature. I don't, that's the thing. I don't want.
It's human nature of a woman.
No, but see, if you go there with a woman statement, then we're falling into that whole. I think that Mark Passio has it right, where we're falling into these paradigms where we want to blame some other party, a sex, a political party.
No. You're not blaming a political party in that. You are actually blaming the structure of it. Now, you said something about claiming citizenship. What country are you from then, if you're not an American?
Oh, no, I claim my bloodline American. I traced my family back. My aunt did that for me. Actually, she has a pay stub. You guys might get a kick out of this. She did some lineage research. Thank goodness for me. It's like my first Independence Day when I really know, a little bit about who I am. And but of course, the Americans are the natives are the ones who are being not considered in this whole equation of what we call democracy and all that. But nonetheless, what's the point?
Wait a minute. We're not a democracy. Democracy is the British government. We are a republic.
Yeah, and so what is the core of a republic? I just have never run.
Republic is the Constitution. No injured party, no damage. A democracy says, you called me a name, I didn't like it, I want to sue you because you offended my feelers.
I see. So
sticks and stones may break my bones, but names would never hurt me. We all grew up with that one. And where's the reality today? Oh, no. Democracy and these attorneys and these judges are rape, robbing, pillaging you for financial gain, and they know they're doing it.
These judges and lawyers are corporate entities. They're traded on Dun & Bradstreet, Wall Street. That's conflict of interest.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. So which is that there are a lot of angles with which to attack these people, and I'm just wondering, what is the one that's gonna, or what is I say the one? There's probably many, but I mean, if you had to guess, okay, so I'm gonna probably have to face this woman in court, and I had wanted to go through a slower affidavit process and build up more evidence, honestly, and just to her lack of ability to communicate with me. So she cut off all communication. I'm not allowed to even send a letter to my kids or anything like that, even though they live, a half mile up the road. So
you need to file on the judge that ordered that.
Okay.
Okay. Because now he's retired.
He's retired, so it's a new judge.
Oh no, it doesn't matter if he's retired. Oh no. I don't give a damn what these idiots say. Oh, he's retired and he's got immunity. That's bullshit.
All right. Well, no, that's fine. What I was going to do, I'll tell you what my strategy is, and you can let me know if you think it might work, is to, at this point, I was going to go through a slower affidavit process, like I said, try to show how intolerant, and unreasonable she is when it comes to this thing, where she just thinks she can play mother hen and put them under her wing and tell me to, get pissed, for lack of a better term. So, then I was going to just go ahead and file a claim for the return of my property and trespass upon my property, maybe no due process. It was a kind of a drawn-out story because what happened was, is a typical case, I'm sure, but, she cries foul. She starts a fight with me. I shake her. She runs to the police. She cries foul. Then she threatens me in person. She didn't report it, but she threatens me in person to, she says that, that my daughter mentioned that there was some improper way that we were washing in the shower or something like that, basically calling me a pedophile. So I was like, okay, well, let's go talk to her right now because, we need to clear this up, because if she's thinking that I'm, abusing her, then, I need to let her know that's not the case, and that, there was, and so I approached my daughter, and anyway, I'm getting long-winded, I'm sorry. But anyway, this whole story went into this thing where the cops ended up banning me from my house. I tried to come back. I got all my business there. She wouldn't let me come back, even with their escort, so I snuck back. She tracked me back. The cops arrested me, of course, because I'm on this TRO. Nobody was home, but I was just trying to conduct my business. I was arrested. I bailed out. And then I went to the public pool. This was a second offense, and my wife happens to be there. She and the swimming coach decided that this is a really terrible thing. I actually just went to take a shower at the time. I didn't really have a place to even shower up properly, so I didn't even see anybody, but she was claiming that I was in her space. The cops arrest me like 3 weeks later as I'm driving. They pulled me over for something. They arrest me again. And I served a 6-month probationary sentence on this whole thing. I finally got through with that, and I was at the end of my rope. And you guys listened to Thornton, William Thornton, a little bit. Did I lose you?
Did we lose him?
No, we're still here.
Oh, well, he mentioned, Will Thornton mentioned how the old world ties used to go from top right to bottom left, and that was indicative of the sword, drawing the sword if you were right-handed. And so I was able to track down this guy at the local market here who's kind of he's kind of an aficionado with clothes and stuff like that. And he tracked me down a couple of ties that were the old world style, because all the new ones go from top left to bottom right. This is according to Bill Thornton, you know. So anyway, this guy tracks me down a couple of these ties, and I wear one. And I was really kind of feeling fiery with the judge in the courtroom. At the end, it was this woman judge, and I got to the end, and I was actually trying to do a few things to trip up the prosecutor, but I was at the end of my hearing. Everything was finished, so it was kind of stupid to tempt my fate at that point, but I was just so pissed, you know how you get. And so I was going to fire my attorney, but he showed up, and anyway, he was there, and I gave him these notices, and I actually filed something into the case that morning, but I got her to perjure herself because I said, one thing I just want to clear up here, are we here to determine whether I've broken the law or not today? And like a good attorney, she answers with a question, and she said, oh, no, well, you we had this discussion back in February, you should recall, do you remember? I was just like, just for clarification. She's like, well, that's what I want. I'm trying to clarify too. She's trying to trip me up again, and I said, well, no, I just don't recall. And so could you please, and so by about the third time I asked, she finally says, yeah. And I said it again. I rephrased it. I said, I just want to know if we're here to determine whether I've broken the law or not today. And she finally answered. She said, yes. And I was just like, great. I was just like, good news. I was like, can we have the prosecutor bring the law forward and forward on the record? And she kind of went white as a sheet, and she kind of started stammering back, and she was like, if you just finish up here today, you're at the end of your, and your record will be expunged or whatever she was saying. And I was just like, yeah, I'm kind of tempting fate. I'm wading into something I don't quite feel comfortable with, but I was happy to see her reaction, and I was just like, yeah, you just perjured yourself. Let me out of here, So it is fun once you realize, where the curtain is, and you can kind of reveal. So that's what I was going to mention to you folks. Is like, if my strategy is to go in and basically claim trespass against my property, be it this woman or the state, and that I want the return of my property. Now that's the method that seems to be working for people with CPS cases and other cases. Do you guys have any? You want to weigh in on that at all?
You want to charge them with inland piracy?
Okay, perfect. And
that is something that's punishable by death.
I like that. Okay.
Because they stole your property, held it for ransom, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they did. They sold me my personal property, right? They asked for my, and it's my understanding that the judge really had no place in making a warrant or an order. Now,
right.
You got
running a de facto corporation, a pseudo corporate court.
And so these are the points I want to bring up. Or are they just going to laugh me out with these points? Or what are the?
They're going to have to answer these.
Mm-hmm. And so I file a claim. Could I file a claim into this? Just basically say I want my claim to be heard with this other
So
case?
You don't file and you don't ask permission your claim to be heard. You got our information. You should give us a call, okay? And so we could give you some ideas. And the other point that you kept on stating, that you filed as a citizen. What country are you from? Because you said that you're claiming to be a lawful bloodline, then you filed as a citizen. Now you're confusing the issue, so which is it? And the other point is you need to file your structure before you go to court, because if it ain't in record before you get to court, it's hearsay witness, just like the district attorney. District attorneys are hearsay witnesses, not admissible in court.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. And I did file it into the previous divorce case, but I probably need to refile.
You do it in everything, and you amend it each and every time that things are going on. You clarify it.
And just add it to the file again, or I mean,
right,
it's a
you
new
just
file.
say this amendment to this file. You don't have to rewrite the whole thing so it becomes a major book. You write this is an amendment to the exhibit, well, whatever exhibit, you're putting a number to the exhibit that you put in.
Addendum?
Addendum, thank you.
Right. Well, so what I noticed is now the you know, I'm due at the end of this month to meet this woman in court, but I thought it would be on the old case number, but it has looks like a new...
you have to realize they keep changing case numbers and you don't see them at all.
Okay, so now I just need to file into this case, because otherwise, yeah, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to slip-step me and say they don't know who I am. I have filed, though. Thanks.
If they don't know who you are, then you're claiming your property to be delivered.
Okay. So I like this inland piracy. Is that a
Type it in on the internet. It even has a code in with the Title 18 and 26.
Okay. Then you said, where am I from? Okay, so my grandfather who fought in the War of Independence, my aunt got a pay stub as him as an infantry, and she sent me a copy of that. And
okay, so your family goes back to the Civil War.
That was the War of Independence. That was.
Well, it's the Civil War.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, there's a difference, right, between the Civil War and the War.
Well, you had the Revolutionary War, which is a battle between the United States and England, and then you had the Civil War, which was the war between the states.
No. This would have been the War of Independence, so it would have been the
Revolutionary and Civil War, 1776 through 1779.
Okay, but then, and that was when the okay. Well, I got to check my history, then, guys. So I'm a little off, but
okay. Well, you got our emails and stuff, and you're on Facebook, aren't you?
I am on Facebook.
Okay. You have our information. Get a hold of us on Facebook so we can give you some more ideas. Because, like I said, the other point is we are not lawyers. We are not attorneys. We're just guys that have been around the block that have been beat up enough by these idiots. That way we learn how to research and talk the truth instead of legalese, because we do not support the British government, and I do not support any religion. The only religion I support is the Great Spirit and Mother Earth, because without that we have no life. The Bible...
Well, I realize it's a slippery slope when somebody's calling and asking for... direct advice. That's why I was saying, this is what I plan on doing. I got you cleared on it, but it's like,
like I said, the other point is that, we could give you some other thoughts on things, but we need to get a little bit more in detail on it instead of doing it all here. We can bring back on your progress of what you're doing.
Okay. No, I appreciate it. To clarify one thing, you said your wife was in Alaska or in Hawaii, you mean?
Yeah, we're in Hawaii.
Okay, so you are a resident of Hawaii?
I am. That's a good question.
My comprehension.
Listen to what he's saying, please.
It's my comprehension that David Windmiller, who was a U.S. postal judge, wrote a document to remove the Hawaii as a state of the Union.
Yes, that's right. And I'm familiar with his stuff. In fact, I bought his book, and I spoke with David Wynn. So, Miller.
So if Hawaii is no longer a state, the Constitution for the United States of America no longer applies. The law of the King of Hawaii applies.
There is a Constitution which is basically the same as most, which is, that we're due process and equal rights and all that stuff,
Actually,
right?
Hawaii goes back to native rule of Hawaiians that go back to the 1758, before they were invaded with the British government.
Right. So invaded with the British government.
Mm-hmm.
That's why some people in Hawaii fly that British flag, and some don't. That's scary.
Yeah, I know it. And there is a lot of factions, but there is the one group, and like you said, right about the time David Wynn Miller wrote the Hawaii Constitution, and apparently he wrote the Irish Constitution too. And
so the one thing is Miller, you got to do research on David Miller and see who he really is.
Definitely.
Yeah. We've experienced David Miller. We experienced what David Miller wouldn't even tell us and be honest with us on the questions we asked.
Yeah, so
and although too, we even sent him information into file with him. And there's a lot of questions. I'm not going to downplay the guy, but, I know his wife sure has. And if you look at his wife and his ex-wife stuff, but the bottom line comes down on that one is, just be careful who you deal with and do the research of who they are.
Yeah, no, I've been getting some help. I like David's stuff, and I think it's a little bit heady, but and that's the very part of the problem. But he claims a lot of things, so it would be a hard time proving all that stuff. But nonetheless, no, it's very generous of you guys to get out and help us out this way, and I know that there's multiple ways to do things, and the only thing I want to ensure myself is that what I'm doing, I understand to the best of my ability, because like you're saying, I have to defend my own words. I can't use somebody else's words and hope that, when I have to answer a question about them that, I don't know. And that's my fear with Wynn Miller stuff, even though I think probably half of it's, pretty spot on.
Okay, well, we're going to move on and take somebody else's call right now.
All right. I'm picking up a lot of time.
You got the information to get a hold of us, so please do that. But like I said, and the most important thing, when you are filing, make sure that you get it recorded in the court before you go there.
Okay, and I've listened to you on that, Ed, so I really appreciate that, and I have, and I will in this case again, so thanks for reminding me. And do you guys have a phone number or email that's easiest, or you don't want to give that out necessarily over the air?
I don't do it out online. It's out there. You can type it in. I'm all over the structure.
All right, fair enough. All right, well, thanks,
you
David.
got my Facebook, so you know how to get a hold of me through Messenger, so we can do it that way.
Oh, I see. Very generous, guys. Thanks so much.
You bet. I hope we helped you.
Okay, yeah, you certainly have.
All righty. Have a good one.
Yeah, all right. Use one. Bye now.
Good luck.
Okay, appreciate it.
Okay, who's the next one? Okay, I guess nobody else wants to speak up right now. So I guess we'll give Toast a few minutes here because I guess he wanted to say something. So we'll give him a few.
Hello, guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, all of a sudden your volume went way down.
How about now?
Same.
How about now?
Same.
Well, that's interesting.
We got a mixer problem on the board?
Changed on my end.
Hey, yeah, David, it sounds okay over the phone. Are you talking about over the net or?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds like my brother's voice. Gerald, is this on your phone or what?
It's on my phone, yes. And my volume's all the way up.
You have the volume all the way up?
Correct.
Okay. I don't know what's causing it then.
But just all of a sudden your volume went.
Okay.
Because I have to stick the phone right up to my ear to hear you.
I don't know that one.
Well, I had to call in twice or three times last week to get any kind of volume out of it at all.
Wow. Yeah, we know that we've had some interesting conflicts, and so that's why we're working on things and to put the 800 and go through a new structure so that way we don't have these conflicts that have developed off and on.
Has anybody else got this problem, or?
I don't know. Nobody but you said anything.
Oh, Dave, speak into the phone. Now you're talking in an echo.
Okay.
Because all of a sudden we can barely hear you.
I'm here.
Now I can hear you guys better.
Okay.
Okay.
But anyway,
So, hey, Gerald, tell me about the situation in New Mexico.
What do you mean? What situation? You mean about the cops stopping us?
I'm talking about how your brother handled the public servant.
He did good. I didn't know what to say.
So, in other words, what your brother and what we're saying is a fact then.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yep.
and it's learning how to present yourself to these people.
Right.
And I know I used to be one of those, you know, at one point in my life when I was very young, you know, I have rights and all this stuff, but I didn't quote them to the public servant. So it is knowing how to present yourself to your public servant.
Right.
did or did not he say?
Can't hear you, Dave.
I said, did he or did he not say what his emergency was?
He did not. It's strange, when he went back to the car, he came back, he says, you're not my system.
Mm-hmm.
Your wife was pretty well pissed at us.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that is one of the most important things. You want to be out of their system.
Right.
You know, and the other point is I'll be finishing up a template for people too for newborn kids, because it is very important that you file this stuff and keep filing on your bloodline. You know, every other or every third year to claim it, because if you don't do it every third year until the ownership until 18 years old, that's how the Democrats have written certain things to try to slide in the back door on people. And people don't comprehend it. They think, I did it, and this is the way it is. And you have to keep making sure it's filed. You have to keep making sure it is completely standard done, and not standardized, but standard. So you are doing it.
Yep.
You know. That is the one point that people don't go get it. And eventually we got to work on setting this up for live on Facebook too. So we got to figure that one out, because I'm getting people that are telling me we don't have phone service, we don't have phones, but we could do it on Facebook. And some people, you know, do live on Facebook. So we'll figure out how to set it up so we can do a live broadcast right on Facebook when we do this as well.
That'd be great.
You know? And then also too, because remember, the unofficial Pope Francis, now he's even came up with his TV network. Now his TV network is unofficial Pope TV network. So he's unofficial Francis Human Rights too. And so everything's coming up around him as everything is coming up unofficial.
Huh.
So, and he's trying to claim this country under the Treaty of 1213. The Devil's Treaty that he did for the Pope and the Church did with King John. So when you read the Bible with King John, it's understanding or comprehending. Ooh, thank you, Lord. Slap me harder next time. Comprehending what the Bible says compared to what you interpret it to. The Bible is a book. You know, it is not a law. Because the law comes from, the Constitution. And the Constitution is my Bible. So, and that is when people go, oh, well, Ed, you're going to be condemned because you're not supporting Christianity. Well, then so be it. But I'm not going to sit there and to go along with organized religion to mind control people, because the Constitution gives you freedom. The Bible gives you enslavement. And when you really read the Bible, it truly does give you enslavement. And I don't know how people cannot comprehend that fact.
Well, weren't the Dead Sea Scrolls written in Hebrew?
Yep.
That's not English.
Mazda 2, isn't that a foreign country?
Bingo.
You know, our country is still new when it comes down to it. The forefathers grew up in the terrorization of Christianity. They knew in England how they murdered people because they didn't conform to the religion. They knew how the soldiers raped, murdered children because their daddies wouldn't do what they were told. And Christianity is still doing that today through the court system. Because when you can sit there, and if you know Bible instruction, you can walk out quickly with any crime. They know it. People do it.
Right.
You know, and people want to understand why they didn't get charged with this and why they didn't do this or that. Folks, read it. Read what it says. We're a republic. We're not a democracy. If you want a democracy, go to England.
If you have any doubt,
I sure the hell don't want England, and I
democracy,
care less about the Queen. Go ahead.
If you have any doubt if we're a republic or a democracy, say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Yeah, and eventually I want to start doing that so we can put the Pledge of Allegiance in our intro. Oh, and the other thing, too, is to, what was his name? Red Skelton.
Mm-hmm.
Red Skelton, watch his video that he has on the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll put it up on our site here in a minute. Oh, that's right. You can't say midget today. That's offensive.
None of that.
They're little people.
Crap. PC sucks. PC is democracy. We're republic.
That's right. And if you don't like our country, leave.
The Constitution very plainly says that each state shall be guaranteed a republican form of government.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pledge of Allegiance, I pledge allegiance to the flag for the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
Mm-hmm.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Not just us, the court system and the crooks and the rape, rob, and pillage of the public servants against you. It's justice for all.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't get it in your oath of office, and you don't get it in the Pledge of Allegiance to this country, then you better pack your bags and get back to England where you belong.
Mm-hmm. We don't want you in our country, and our country's not open to immigration. It's a privilege to come here. It is not a right.
And any Democrat who says, oh, I love this democracy, well, pack it up, honey, because this ain't no democracy.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just this evening I saw on the news that we take in 1,000-some immigrants a month into our country as a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't the Constitution say we're only supposed to take in so many a year?
3,000 every other year, and that means they have to have permission from the people in their communities to be here, and if not, we can ship them out immediately.
Yep. And our stupid senator stood there tonight and said it's a pleasure to welcome all you people into our nation.
And that's
Like-
where
like
we
the-
need to file charges on that senator for treason.
Yep, that's Mr. Young. And he was, I think, a new one this year.
Well, yeah, but also, too, Mr. Young needs to know his historical facts, and we need to know Mr. Young's bloodline history.
Yep, it's that idea.
And where is it in the Constitution? Does it not say that we, the people, have the right to alter and abolish any form of government that becomes destructive to these ends?
And I think we've got one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, Dave, don't forget to put that in that instrument I sent you, too.
Okay.
'Cause I just sent you the first one, Exhibit 1 on Cape Brown. So, and then I got to get the other ones because I'm going to have a total of 10 exhibits, and that's all I'm going to do this week is be working on this stuff. I'm not going to be responding to people. I'm not going to be doing this. I'm working strictly on the indictment charges on the House and Senate of Oregon, which I should have been doing for the last couple of months. And I'm done with helping with people because right now, every man and woman that I've helped, not one of them have followed through with their responsibilities on their filings. Not one has followed through on the structures that they need to be doing. You know, and all I keep hearing is, I need you to write it for me. I need you to do this. I give you the information. Okay? I give you basic platforms, and for most of the stuff I set it up is basically written, but I don't know your life, and I'll be damned if I'm going to sit down and go over it with you for a week or 2 weeks. You know, because that's your life, not my life. I already lost my family and structure. I don't have family. My 2 children are dead. I don't have bloodline. So that's what gets to me. People go, oh, and it's like, you know, I had mine are dead now, so I'm doing this to protect the heritage of my other family members that they don't pay attention. You know, because it is all about your bloodline. Legal, immigrant, or lawful bloodline. And immigration, we have to stop. Now, I was told that's interesting because you're telling me that they're sitting on TV, they're bringing in 1,000 people. The Supreme Court just sat there and confirmed Trump's immigration ban and shut the borders down, they're claimed by the Supreme Court last week.
Well,
So we need to find out what, why, and how, and because if you go to, let me read this to you, folks. Let me read this to you. So this way you guys could get a real comprehension. Remember, this goes back to 1774. Federal Immigration and Naturalization Act, Section 8, USC 1324, parentheses A, parentheses 1, parentheses A, parentheses 4, parentheses B, parentheses 3, okay? And it clearly states that any man, woman, and child, and that's like this senator, is bringing in immigration as a federal crime. And it's imprisonment or basically a firing squad. It follows under RICO, Citizen Resources. And that means they're using Social Security numbers and other stuff that's illegal by their system. Even tax crimes, employers who aid and participate in false tax returns and Social Security taxes for illegal alien employees. That means if they get a Social Security number, that's an illegal act. That's a criminal offense. And employers who hire them are guaranteed to spend a minimum of 180 days in jail. And you can put that up, type it in, look at it. Federal Immigration and Naturalization Act, Section 8, USC 1324. It will come up. And it's your responsibility to protect it legally or lawful. You turn your back, I pray to God, the Great Spirit collects thy souls. Literally. I don't have compassion, you know, and neither does God, if you go by the God structure, because God, under the Roman Catholic Church, has no compassion. Look how they're raping the children. And that's acceptable? You know, the Nuremberg trial said that that stuff wasn't acceptable. You know? And then all of a sudden, before Obama leaves the office, the domestic terrorist, he stops all the funding for all the Nazis that were in this country under the Nuremberg structure, which I thought was funny, because why the hell were they even getting Social Security in this country?
In the first place.
Mm-hmm.
In the first place.
Yeah, thank Mr. Obama.
Oh, yeah, and I love all these people going, oh, he's the best governor in the world.
I have a breaking news issue for you, Edward. I mowed my yard today. I'm sitting here under a light. The aluminum particles are attached to my trousers and my T-shirt.
Oh, isn't that nice?
They are reflecting off the light.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where would I get aluminum shavings when I don't even have an aluminum factory near me? Did somebody seed the clouds?
Well, and that's the other thing that, you know, it's like everybody's panicking because, you know, they want to rewrite the Constitution and eliminate civil rights. Well, yeah, I agree with that because civil rights are British law. That's the attorneys and judges.
Well,
you know?
The corporations wanting to rewrite the Constitution because they made the Constitution their bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
That's fraud by trickery. Congress, by legislation, cannot alter the Constitution from which it derives its power to legislate.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can't alter it through the organic Constitution, the only other way they can do it is through the corporation. Excuse me.
That's right.
So people better comprehend what this de facto corporation is doing to this nation. It's an act of treason, high treason, collusion, RICO.
And the other major point is that you could have a business without having a business license. I know. Most of my businesses I had that way. I wouldn't register them. You know, and I've been threatened. If you didn't get a business license, we're coming after you, Ed. And I still ran my business.
May I?
Go ahead, may I?
Hey, yeah, you know, that works right up until the point where you want to enter into a professionally regulated field. I would be up against them to sue you, but or you to sue them. But let's say, like I do electrical contracting, and if I don't have all my licenses up to date, I won't be able to.
Not true. I was a contractor in San Jose, California. I did maintenance and stuff like that. Never had it. It's knowing how to sell yourself. Because if you want to go through the structure of getting checks and that, I did everything in cash. I wouldn't accept the real estate structure of the commercial contract.
I understand that, and that's fine if you're going person to person. But when when the county is asking for their permitting process,
you didn't hear me. I've done it. I was a certified mechanic under the factories. I sold myself as in the car dealerships. Never had ASA certification or any of that. The car dealerships still hired me.
That's one thing if you're getting hired, but I'm trying to pull a permit for somebody's home.
Wait a minute. See, this is the point. You're missing the point here. I built my house without permits because the law says you don't need permits. The only way you need permits is if you are working on a government building that's commercially owned by the people. That's the real law.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to get building permits. Like I said, I built my home on my land without permits. I built my 11-foot fence in front of my home without building permits. They wanted to come after me and say to me, "Oh, Ed, you need to go have a design on this wall. You need to have an inspector do this, that, and the other thing." So the city wanted to come after me, and by the time I got done with the city code enforcer, he resigned.
Well, yeah.
Following the law, not statute, codes, and administration.
Right. And I get it. But, I'm working with a third party, and I think what's the easiest thing to do is just to...
to give in, bow your head, and be a slave.
No, it's just to, get into unlicensed business. I mean, that's because, let's say, if you want to be a physician or something, then they would like to come after you if you
kill somebody. It's the same thing with the contractors. Like when I was a mechanic and I did brake jobs, and I caused somebody harm with a brake job, and if I didn't do it right, I'm liable, not the company.
Right. That's right. No, it's the same in
so it depends if you want to be a liable man or woman, or if you want to sit there and buy your contract. And when I had my own business, I did have umbrella insurance, and they do sell that without contractor licenses and stuff.
Okay. Now that's I think as long as you can work with the person that or whoever the contractee that you're having to deal with. I just in some ways they've got it so gummed up that. Although I must say, the lawful Hawaiian government here, this is a caller from Hawaii, and they're issuing permits for people, and they're standing up to the local authorities, and not, they're able. So it is an interesting little battle that's going on here.
I know that because I've been on several of the radio stations over there in Hawaii and explaining some of the facts to them.
Okay, I think the thing that hasn't caught on for the people here, which you guys preach to, is you've got, it's all hearsay until you put it in the record, until it is written down.
Right.
And we should learn, because that is what the Queen did. She wrote it down. And if she hadn't written it down, Hawaii probably wouldn't be doing anything right now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we all have to take your good advice, Ed, and get it in the record and file it, because again, it's hearsay, right? Even like you were saying, even bringing it into the courtroom the day of the court, it doesn't have to be recognized, right? Because it's not in the record.
They could throw it out because you didn't record it with the clerk. It's not a court of record at that point. It's hearsay evidence.
Beautiful.
That's what me and Dave preach all the time to people. It's knowing how the procedure works compared to what the truth of what people are thinking that they know or what they're getting led to believe.
So would you guess?
Hang on a second. I mean, I got email right now. I'm going through another guy, and he's writing his case up, and he filed a due process structure, and he has everything written in as persons.
Yeah.
Person, the word person, is an inanimate object word. It does not exist. Look it up in the Black Law, Bovier's dictionary, any legal dictionary. The word person is an inanimate object. That's why they love it when you use it in court, because that's hearsay evidence, and that's how they go, stricken from the record.
Now, Ed, you can look at Black's Law has 11 versions. So if you look at the word person in the 8th, it's different than what it is in the other ones.
Yeah, the more recent ones get more liberal.
Well, certainly. That's the reason why they rewrite the law dictionaries, because they got to make the law dictionary agree with the con job.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. But then they have a choice to pick from, right? Now you've got a choice to pick from if
Correct.
you know.
And you gave them the authority to have the choice.
Yeah. How so?
How so? You have to ask that one. If you file stuff or say stuff and you don't do it correctly, you're giving them the authority. That is so simple.
Well,
you know, when you go into court, if you don't file in the court before you get there, you're giving the judge the authority to dictate to that record. And when you go into court, you ask the judge questions. My question to you is 8 U.S.C. 42, Section 3108, Section D says this. Do you agree with this? That's my question.
Right.
Right. So you're dealing with a child issue. It's the same thing with child issues. You bring those things up to the judge. Do you agree with this? You bring in your rights to the child. And I've got a lot of that posted up there on our structure. And then you ask them the questions on those things. You know, you put everything to a question.
And for the record, Your Honor, and for the furtherance of this case, what law are we actually practicing?
Yeah, that's the other one, too. You want to know, my main question before we start the procedure here is what law are we going underneath at this point so I know what we're doing, what I have to quote of what law and what administrative rules we're doing, or is it a Title III Constitutional Court?
Title III Constitutional Court, or we could have civil law, or we could have admiralty law, or...
That's British.
Inadmissible in court.
And what's the other ones? Would be...
You either have constitutional court or you don't. And if you are a bloodline American, you have the right to demand a constitutional court, a constitutional judge with a constitutional oath of office.
Which would include a grand jury indictment. Is that right?
That's correct.
A grand jury of 12 members with 25 in the shoe, okay, and that has to be equal of your jury as well as theirs. So it's 6 men from one side and women, and 6 men and women on the other side.
And you
a
don't
grand
let the
jury
judge and the
is 12
prosecutor say, "No, you can't reject to that guy." Yes, I can.
Go ahead, Dave.
And
what were you saying, Dave?
The jury knows their rights.
Oh, yeah, valid point, yes.
Law on jury rights. And the judge cannot dictate or vary from those.
Which they have the right to write the law, right? I mean, they have the right to rule against the law.
They have the right to investigate. The grand jury
have the right to even put the judge in jail.
Authority.
Okay. So but now, even if this is, I mean, yeah, so like, then I need a constitutional court, but, they're kind of call this like a quasi-civil court, right? Because
but you have to demand it in writing.
Right. You put a motion to the court and a demand that you have a constitutional judge, oath of office, grand jury indictment at all.
Right.
And if they fly a color of law fraud scheme against you, which is a gold fringe flag in that courtroom, that's known as color of law fraud.
And I think they've caught on to that now in Hawaii, so they're probably just putting a yellow thread in it instead of the full fringe flag. But they're chameleons, those folks. But
think of it is, they're not allowed to have any gold fringes at all on the flags in the court.
Well, yeah. If you've listened, that's where they'll do that. Well, they'll have a look.
Yeah, but
like
you gotta quit defending them because in the state of Arkansas, they are removing the gold fringe flags in the courts today. Some of them are getting peace flags put in them.
They should.
Okay, and see, that's your responsibility. Your responsibility to make it happen.
And you do not want a spear, an eagle, or a ball on top of that flagpole. That changes the jurisdiction of the court.
Yeah, and now eagle up or down, or the ball or the spear. So then what would you want?
You'd want a flat pole.
A flat pole.
Flat pole, nothing on top of it. You want
a
flag on a pole, U.S. flag on a pole. Standard flag, read Executive Order 10834 by Dwight David Eisenhower.
Okay. Yeah, because otherwise it's a military flag.
That's right. That is a gold fringe flag in a court on three sides is a martial law flag. It falls under military regulation, and it's defined under the Attorney General. I'm trying to remember what they call it. Something of the Attorney General. Eisenhower's executive order will tell you.
Yeah,
anyway,
10834.
Yeah. So anyway, when you're dealing with flags, if you go into a court with no flag, that's fraud.
Mm. And we do have Executive Order 10834 template up there, and I think it's 38 pages long, and it walks you through the real history of it, and you file that in court.
The executive order of Eisenhower only covers a page and a half.
Yeah, but ours is a lot longer because we got the conviction of the judge in it, how to convict them. We've got the structure when you file it. If the judge has it, he's mandatory, has to either sign it or get it out or dismiss your case or go to jail.
Right.
Well, give your website out one more time because I'm not sure I know.
Sue.OregonTrackers.com. Then we have the Facebook sites, Tax Fraud in America. That's Facebook, not the one on the internet that the British government put on trying to come after Dave. And then we have the Civil Rights 1866 Lawful Bloodline Americans on Facebook. We have on Facebook new.OregonTrackers.com, and on Facebook we have the United States for America Republic Elected and Public Servants Oversights, because it's our responsibility to watch our public servants.
Okay.
And I'm sure he wasn't able to write them down that fast, Ed.
No, I'm getting a few of the feeds already. I'm getting a couple of your feeds, so I think I've seen them all on the Facebook. But I just
on the left-hand side of our websites are the links to the other websites.
I see. Okay. Well, that's good. And you said you got some example of your structure and stuff there. That's real helpful.
We got templates up there, and a lot of it we've already filed in the Supreme Court. I filed them in the courts myself.
Okay. Well, hey, Ed, we keep hearing this, and it's actually only one other person of all the law and stuff that I've listened to for that last year and a half. It's you guys and one other person that's actually prompting people to file things in the record. And honestly, anything else is just babble, right? So I mean, my point is that I think that the mass populace, and this includes the people in the Hawaiian sovereign movement and all that stuff, they believe they can walk into the courtroom and do this verbally. And I think that is the biggest misconception that I think I was under, and probably most other people are, that you can speak and they're going to have to listen to you. And I think what
comprehend is that if it isn't in writing and properly filed, that judge can hold them in contempt of court, and the prosecutor can prosecute their butt.
Right. And so, but if it is filed, then they have to let you know if it's improperly filed, right? I mean, in other words,
they don't have to let you know shit. You have to go find out. That's how they get away sneaking up on people.
They're not going to tell you made an error.
Oh, well, so if I file, you know, if I filed this notice of void judgment, and then they're bringing, and in that case I filed my notice of status, and yet they're still wanting to drag me in there under the nom de guerre, and then they, you know, and this is some of the Win Miller stuff. I mean, to his credit, and I'm getting back on my I'm becoming personal again. But you know, they list my children as these letters. That is the biggest misconception that I think I was under, and probably most other.
That's interesting. He just sort of went in an echo base.
I'm getting a feedback.
Oh yeah, it fed back on mine too. But what's the point is, you know, they loved what they did in the divorce case is they didn't list the children's name. They just listed the initials, which is really kind of interesting, especially after reading all, you know, is that, you know, there's not a name on there in reference to these kids, and it's just hilarious how they, you know, drag us into this stuff when really there's absolutely nothing on paper.
I want my property back. Here is the Social Security number or the number of my child. Don't call it the Social Security number.
Or a picture. Or
this
a picture.
Is the number of my property.
Right. Or a picture, right? I could use a picture.
Yep.
Because I don't know that the youngest one may not have a Social Security number. I don't know. They were all born at home, but anyway. Well, all right. Well, I'll quit being selfish here, but I did want to interject that point, which is that I don't think we can say it enough, which is that you cannot go into the courtroom and speak. They're not going to hear you. And that was...
That's the point. You don't go in a courtroom to speak. You file before you get there. You don't have to speak. You let your paper speak for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because when you start speaking, that's how they can sit there and tell you this, that, and the other thing. That's why you make sure that you ask the judge questions about the law. Here's the law. Is this true? Is it true my son or my daughter was kidnapped from me? Here's the law that says this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point. You got to quote them what they wrote. Not only that, what is that called? Human trafficking? Animal abuse?
Yep.
I like that one because it's what we are, right? We're all animals according to the IRS code that Title 26. Well, no, it's a pleasure listening, guys, and it's amazing that that you guys are trying to help save us here because we are kind of a lost cause compared to what our potential is. We're all falling asleep into this we owe them stupor, and we got to wake up. Are you guys familiar with Peter? I don't know his last name. The cracking the code.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Well, you got the cracking of the code of the system. You got the cracking code of the Bible too.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I hear what you're saying. I really appreciate that because I think a lot of people do get law and religion wound up together, and I think that we have to keep them separate because it's just too easy for them to say, oh, or they're religious zealous. No, we are using logic and law and stuff that people taught through. They use morals to guide them, but that was it, right? Those are inherent.
Yeah, they didn't use morals. Well, I guess you could sort of say it that way, but they used it. If you screwed with my kid, I kill you. It wasn't that I have to call the cop and wait for the cop. You know, that's like the guy in Texas when he walked in, his 5-year-old daughter was being molested by one of their relatives. The guy sat there and punched the guy 5 times. Didn't realize he killed him. And then everybody's getting an irate attitude because, oh, he should have been charged with murder. And it's like, you would have done that to my kid. I would have done the same thing. You know, you don't have control over your strength when you're sitting there pissed off like that.
Yeah.
Justice served.
Oh, I see it. Judge, jury, and conviction, right?
Well, I have the right to do that. You come in my property, I have the right to be judge, jury. I don't call a cop.
Yeah, well, this is
Man, I've done that, man. I've come out there and I've had people come on my deal, like the guys from the gas company coming on my land, oh, we want to see if you got a gas meter. And I come out with my baseball bat, and they're going, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to break your legs. Oh, we have a right and easement to come on people's lands. I said, you don't have no damn easement. I don't have electric gas. I don't have gas from you. Oh, we have this right. And I said, bullshit. And I called his boss, and he's lucky he almost got his, hopefully he didn't get fired, but, his boss was freaking out on me. I said, if any of your employees ever come on my land again, I guarantee you I'll break their legs. And he goes, that's a threat. And I said, no, it's not a threat. It's a fact, because you don't have the right and you have no easements. I've been on this land for 21 years, and I've never had any of your services, nor will I ever have any of them.
Perfect.
That's the point. They think, like company, oh, I have a right. It's like in the front yard. The city has an easement on my property because the creek bed is there. I own the creek bed. It's in my land structure. Okay? It's like, I've had them and my neighbors trying to steal land from me, and I've been dealing with this for 15 years.
Shit. No, that story reminds me of a friend of mine. He said he came into his backyard, and there was the neighbor had hired some tree trimmers, and they were in his backyard, and he said, hey, you got to get off my property. Didn't you see the no trespassing sign? And they're like, oh, no habla inglés. So then he says he went inside and got the shotgun. He said they understood that really quick.
Oh, yes. Habla English now. Habla English. We're leaving. We leave.
Oh, that gun? You have a gun there? But, that's the way you got to get with these people, because they'll just bamboozle you until the counts come home and expect you to take it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get off now. I'll step off.
So,
good luck, guy.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and you can get some information. Go on our site and read some of the stuff we have filed and stuff.
No, I appreciate it. What I did do was I filed on the Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General, and I just filed them a notice and demand, just letting them know that who I was essentially. And so then the Child Support Services woman calls me up and she says, well, where do you work? And I said, it's none of your damn business. Oh, I felt so good to tell her that,
Mm-hmm.
And then she, and then they sent me a bill, a $3,000 bill. And I said, well, what? I've been paying all the time. I'm on time. What are you talking about? Then they sent me an affidavit that said that I had paid on time from this other party, this woman. And so then they sent me another bill, and it said I was zeroed out. Yeah. But I never sent them any money. So I'm tempted to file on them. They keep wanting to deal with me, and I'm trying to tell them I don't want to. I sent to the director of the Attorney General is the office where these child support services and all that stuff come out of, or that's who represents them. And so I filed on the administrator there, and like I say, the deputy and the Attorney General and the chief judge. But now I've got another judge to deal with. It never seems to be an endless, line of these public servants that want to, gum up the works.
Oh, I know. We've been through it.
Happy Independence Day, fellas.
Hey, same to you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so do we have anybody else that would like to speak? Okay. Well, tell us, were you going to bring up anything? I heard you had something you wanted to bring up. Were you going to do anything?
All participants are muted.
Not at this time. I just want to say I'm going to be filing something in my court case that should that should make them aware that they are breaking the law, and they should probably dismiss my case. So, that's the only thing I've got to bring up. And other than that, I'm out of ideas. I yield.
Thank you. I was wondering how I got muted.
Because you didn't call in under the proper.
I know. I made my mistake, John. I can admit when I'm wrong. So, but anyhow, so like I said, me and Dave are still working on some things. I've got the structure that basically what Dave did on ODF and W. Well, ODF and W in Oregon, I did. Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. I filed my structure with them, and that is the one thing that people's got to realize that. You guys got to file this. You got to stand up. And when you file your instruments, too, make sure that you file them with the Secretary of State and your county clerk. Okay? That way there's no conflict of interest, because if the courts don't do what they're supposed to do, you already have it filed, and you can prove it's been recorded here. Because remember, the county recorder has to record all the judges and everything, and all the judges' structure, because everything that the courts do has to be filed with the county clerk. So you have to realize that major fact. And that is a fact, because you have to file with the clerk. You have to file that with the people. That's the point. And then that way you have standing. You want standing.
Exactly.
So, Dave, do you have anything else you would like to add?
No, I think we're good for tonight. I don't know, it's a little after 10 o'clock, so tomorrow is going to be a busy day for a lot of people, being Independence Day, so
yep.
Maybe we ought to just wrap it up for tonight, unless somebody else has some kind of question they want to ask. I'm good for tonight.
All participants are unmuted.
Well, this is Ed. I'd like to thank you all for joining us. Remember, Dave and I are not attorneys. We are not members of the British government. We are not citizens. We are bloodline Americans. And people say, oh, what's the difference of a bloodline American and that? It's like, people, read your Constitution. It even states it in the Constitution. And I got people all the time want to argue with me, and then when I prove them wrong, they don't want to apologize. And it's frustrating because they want to argue, but then again, they don't want to sit there and go, oh shit, maybe I was wrong. And that's the one frustration we live today. If you admit you're wrong, we go on with life. Life is too simple. You have to remember that major part. People make life difficult for them. And if you don't stand up, and if you don't know the circumstances before you speak, try to learn it before you speak. Because once you speak, sometimes, you can always come back, and always on your instruments, always write in your instruments that you have the right to amend the instrument at any time. You, yourself, and I personally. Okay? That means no government official, no public servants. They don't have rights.
And you
so
put
you
in
have to
there
make sure your rights are there, and that's why putting it in it that you can amend your own instrument. So learn how to be protective. Anyhow, with that, I'd like to say thank you for all that were joining us tonight. And anyhow, may you all have the great spirit. Mother Earth bless you. Travel safely. Enjoy tomorrow. Very much enjoy tomorrow. And just remember, it's all about responsibility. And you are the responsible party. And that's what you need to educate your children on. So with that, may the Great Spirit, Mother Earth, travel with you. Floor is yours, Dave.
The thing I wanted to add to what Ed just said was you always want to add in there without leave of court on your document. You have the right to amend or abolish without leave of court. That puts them on notice there's not a damn thing they can do about your filing. So with that, happy 4th of July, everyone. Enjoy the ceremonies, enjoy the fireworks. A lot of fireworks going on right now. So enjoy yourself. Party hardy. Good night.
Good night.
You've been listening to Disclaimers by Davidlee Buess and Edward Johnston. Next week, we will be having a new number. The number again is 641-715-0864. The participant code is 486971. And today's date is the 3rd of July, 2017. Thank you for listening, and have a good night.
This session is no longer being recorded.